right that many times theologians don't engage a doctrine like the atonement with a philosophical sensitivity. So could you just unpack a little bit about why it's important to have that philosophical
Mhm.
sensitivity when we engage a doctrine like the atonement?
One of the things that philosophy is most useful for is what's called conceptual analysis. That is to say, analyzing concepts. And I find over and over again that biblical scholars who are untrained in philosophy make conceptual mistakes. For example, there's a conceptual difference between conceiving of death as a consequence of sin as opposed to a punishment for sin. And the way you think of death is vastly different if you think of it in terms of a punishment as opposed to a consequence. Or another example would be the idea of justice. Many biblical scholars don't understand the difference between retributive theories of justice and consequentialist theories of justice, and as a result, become confused in their theological work. Or just one more example, the very idea of penal substitution, I think, is very subtle conceptually. I would say that penal substitution is the view that Christ bore the suffering which we deserved as the punishment for our sins, thereby freeing us from liability to punishment. And if that's right, that leaves it an open question as to whether God punished Christ for our sins. Some would say yes, others would say no, but he did bear the suffering which would have been punishment had it been inflicted on us, because it would have been our just desert. So, in all of these different ways and more, conceptual analysis is just vital for doing good biblical and theological studies.
Mhm.
The other reason it's valuable is, quite honestly, I think that the most important objections to many atonement theories are not biblical, they are philosophical. And because biblical theologians are not familiar with philosophical reasoning and argumentation, they will often abandon doctrines that I think are biblically very solidly grounded, because they're persuaded by these philosophical arguments. And so, by having a good handle on the philosophical arguments, it can help us, I think, to do a better job in terms of theological formulation and defense of biblical doctrine.